All right, let's take a look. Anything raised to the 0 power is always going to be 1. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything raised to the 0 power is always 1, except for 0 being raised to the 0 power, because that's a whole conflict of interest thing there, but you never see that anyway. Okay, you're several courses from seeing that. So, negative 3/4 to the 0 is 1. Now, there was an issue that was asked about, okay, this imaginary 1 thing, where does it show up? Understand that it cannot show up on top. Like, you can't go, oh, there's a 1 on top. No, you can't do that. The 1, if it's anywhere, has to be on the bottom. So in this case, there's an imaginary 1 down here. So the x to the negative 3, the negative has to go to the bottom. Okay? And so it's x to the 3rd, and there's a 1 there. Bless you. Okay?
So now what?
So the answer is 1 over x to the 3rd.
Because the 1 can't be on the bottom, the bottom has to be on the top. Because it's negative.
The negative in the exponent has to move to the bottom if it's on top. Currently it's on top,
Yeah.
so it moves to the bottom. Now notice this one on the bottom is going to have to move where? Up to the top. So that's just going to become x to the 4th.
All right.
So if it's on bottom, it moves to the top. If it's on top, it moves to the bottom. We straight on that?
Now, if you put over 1,
If you put over 1, that's fine.
you put over, okay.
That's perfectly legit.
And it's not a negative, then when you put it down there, it's just 3.
The negative exponent becomes positive once you move it.
Okay.
Let me say that again. The negative exponent becomes positive once you move it. Okay. So those are the first 3. All right. Number 4. Is this minus 2? Is it minus 2 raised to the 4th? Or is it negative 2? Negative 2 raised to the 4th. Which one is it? And if it's negative 2, what's the difference between this problem and this problem? Are there any differences between them? The parentheses make this one a negative sign. This one's a negative sign. This one is just a minus 2. It makes a difference because this is negative 16. This is minus 2 times 2 times 2 times 2.
Is that negative 16 or 34?
34. Why would it be 34? Yeah. I was thinking you were thinking 32.
30. Oh, yeah, I did.
32 is, you did 5. Okay. Now, what's number 5? 16.
There's 2, right? And it's negative 2 to the 3rd power with parentheses, and then negative 2 without. Just like
Okay, to the 3rd power is different though. You see, if you say minus 2 to the 3rd, negative 2 to the 3rd, both of these answers come out negative 8, but you get negative 8 for completely different reasons. In this case, it's minus 2 times 2 times 2, which is 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8, and then negative signs applied, negative 8. In this case, it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Negative times negative is positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Odd exponents end up being a negative answer. Okay? But understand that this, with a number here, raised to any power, is going to be a negative answer. Like whether it's minus 3 squared, minus 5 cubed, minus 8 to the 0, that's negative 1. This is negative 125. This is negative 9. If you have the minus out front of the number of the exponent, the answer is going to be a negative answer no matter what. I mean, I shouldn't say no matter what, but most of the time. Okay.
Okay, so
Yes. Yep. What'd you get here? X to the 4th times x to the negative 7 is x to the negative 3. Now, are you allowed to leave the negative exponent? So you got to take that and move it to the, good job, Antonio. X to the negative 3.
4 minus negative 3, is that what that is?
No, 4 plus negative 7 is negative 3.
Okay.
And then x to the negative 3 is 1 over x to the 3rd. Okay. All right, what's this one? X to the
1.
x to the 7th, right? 0 plus 7 is 7. You just write down the answer as x to the 7th. What'd you get for this one, Frederick? Number 8. X to the 4th. Very good. You guys subtract the exponents. 5 minus 1 is 4. Now, what we know about negative exponents, if they're on top, they go to the, if they're on bottom, they go. So this negative 2 is going to go where?
To the bottom. To the top.
It's already on the bottom, right?
Right.
So that's going to be x to the 3rd, x to the 2nd. Notice that once we move it, it becomes positive, right? So this is what? X to the 5th. Do we agree? Now, what about the negative 2 here? It's going to go where? To the bottom, right? Now, remember, if there's nothing there, you got to put a 1 there to say, hey, I've moved all to the bottom. And then we got x to the 6th power.
Question.
Yes.
Why do we subtract on 8 and not 9 and 10?
Great question. On 8, both of these are already positive numbers. So I'll just go ahead and subtract them. On 9 and 10, we got these negative numbers we've got to deal with. Before we go about subtracting them, let's get them turned to positive first, and then we'll deal with them after that. Okay? Does everybody see that? Turn the negative exponents positive first, and then make your decision on what you're going to do. So like if you have x to the 8th over x to the negative 2, get that negative 2 positive first. And then if they ended up where you would subtract them, you'd go ahead and subtract them. But since this case they're multiplying, you'd add them together. Okay. Darlene, what's wrong?
So if you reverse that, say negative 8 and a positive 2.
Okay, great question. So what if I have x to the negative 8, x to the negative 2? Now, we want to make them positive first, right? So this one goes up. So that's x squared up here. The x to the negative 8 goes down, right? So that's x to the 8th. Now we're going to subtract, right? And I'm going to get 1 over x to the 6th. Remember that we ultimately want to subtract and leave the answer where the biggest exponent is. Very important to hear that. I want the answer to be where the biggest exponent is.
Okay, the biggest exponent has to be on the bottom?
No, not necessarily.
Well,
When I had x to the 5th over x to the 1st, I got x to the 4th over 1, right? Because the biggest exponent was on top.
Okay, let's go back one
Go back, which one?
to the 8 when you were showing the 8. Okay, so let's say it said negative 8 and a positive 2.
Okay. So let's say we have x to the negative 8 over x to the 2nd, right? The negative 8 goes,
on the bottom.
and you keep the 2 down there, right? You don't move the 2 because it's not negative. So you're going to have x squared, you're going to have x to the 8th, which is 1 over what? X to the 10th.
Just move that only.
Yep.
Only move that. You don't have to switch to move that.
Don't move the 2, just move the 8. Okay.
I'm gonna get it.
I tell you what, let me give you another one, kind of like that, and we'll go. We don't want to do that. Let's go x to the negative 4, x to the 7th. Let's go x to the 11th over x to the negative 6. Let's go x to the negative 7 over x to the negative 3. And let's go x to the negative 4 over x to the negative 9. Let's see what you get for those four. So, for the first one, what'd you get?
The first one, I got 1 over x to the 11th power.
It is 1 over x to the 11th power.
Okay. The second one I got was x to the 17th power.
It's x to the 17th. You could write those x to the 17th over 1 if you want to.
Now, this is what I got.
So let's stop right there for a second. Let me explain it for people watching it at home. The negative 4, before you go do anything else, the negative 4 has got to become positive. It's just going to move down. That's going to be x to the 4th. 7 plus 4 is 11. Notice that this is on the bottom, so it's got to be on the bottom here. Here the negative 6 moves up. Now notice that's on top when it moves up. And that's why you'll get x to the 17th. If you want to put over 1, you can.
Why did it go
Now
up top? Why did it go up top?
The negative 6 was on bottom already. And the negatives go up top. The exponent goes up.
Negatives are on top, right?
Now understand this. The 1 here is optional. This one is optional. This one is not. You got to have that one because without it, you got no fraction. That's a completely different answer. Okay?
So
So
the 1
the
over 4 has to be 1. You have to have the 1 over.
say it again.
So you have to have the 1 over the 4.
What for?
Oh, where did I get that? For? No, I mean the first one.
Yes. Yes.
You have to have the 1. Why?
Because without the 1,
Doesn't make it a fraction.
wait, which one? This one down here?
Yeah.
No, that's fine. You can leave that one off. You cannot leave this one off. The one on top has got to go. If it's on the bottom, the one on top has to be there. You can't go, well, it's implied to be there. It's not. Only the one on the bottom is implied. Now, let's go back to the ones we were just working on, these last two. So what did we get?
That one
I got 1
is the one
over
that,
x to the 10th power.
okay, I got 2 answers because I did the x4, then I also or 1 over x to the 4th power.
Which one is it?
That's what I'm confused at.
All right, so the negative 7 comes down, right?
Right. But
And then the negative 3 goes
at the top.
on the top, right? So now, they're both positive. So we're going to subtract these.
So it is 3 subtract 7.
It's 3 subtract 7 or 7 subtract 3, depending on how you want to do it.
Which makes it a negative. So we have to reverse it and move it.
So what I say is subtract them. 7 minus 3 is 4. The answer stays where the bigger exponent is. 7 is bigger than 3, so the answer will stay in the bottom.
Okay, I got you.
7 is bigger than 3, so the answer will stay on the bottom. You see, what you basically have there is 3x's on top, 7x's on the bottom. So when they start canceling, what's going to happen? This one's going to cancel, this one's going to cancel, this one's going to cancel. Where will all the excess stay, on the top or bottom? On the bottom. And notice that will always be the case. The one that has the most of them will ultimately be where the answer stays when it's done. Okay? X to the negative 9 goes where? To the top. X to the negative 4 goes. Now you guys subtract, right? So it's 9 minus 4. Now is it going to be on top or bottom? On top because that's the bigger number. X to the 5th is on top. Okay. We straight on that? All right. So that's the answer to the first 10. Okay.
Do that last one again, would you?
The one I just did?
Negative x and 4 to the negative,
All right. So
Negative 4.
x to the negative 4,
right?
x to the negative 9.
Right.
All right. The negative 9 goes to the top, makes it become positive. Any negative exponent moves, not negative numbers. Like if I have -2, I can't go like this. Oh, that makes it 1/2. No. You can't just move negative numbers. I wish you could. I'd spend money like hell. Every time it went negative, I told them make it a fraction. Okay. X to the -4 goes to the bottom, right?
Why?
Well, it's
That's
negative.
smaller, or-
It's negative,
Yeah.
and it's on top. So it has to move to the bottom. Anytime you have a negative number on top, it moves to the bottom. So if I go x -2, y 3, z to the -4, then what's going to happen? The x to the -2 moves to the bottom. The z to the -4 moves to the bottom. The y to the 3 would stay there. Okay? So the -4 goes to the bottom for the same reason the -9 went to the top.
Because we're just changing their sign, so they have to.
This is change the signs. Change the side and you change
vary
the
them
sign.
around, they just have to go around the line so they can change? Okay, well, that makes sense then. All
Yeah.
right.
Now I'm going to subtract. 9 minus 4 is 5. Where does the answer go? Well, which one do you have most of? Is it on top or on the bottom? It's on top, so it's going to be x to the 5th on top. That's where most of them sit.
Okay. They have to cross that border so that they can change.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. We straight?